Welcome to lesson 2.3, which is going to go over dividing mixed numbers. So far this chapter we've learned how to multiply fractions, multiply mixed numbers, and divide fractions. So now we're going to add in the dividing of mixed numbers. At the end of this section you should be able to solve problems involving division of fractions by fractions, including mixed numbers. The key idea here is to remember, when dividing mixed numbers, write each mixed number as an improper fraction, then divide as you would with proper fractions. So just like when you multiply mixed numbers, when you have to change them into an improper fraction, you do the same thing here when dividing. Let's do example 1. It says find 2 1/4 divided by 3/8. Right over here, first step says write 2 1/4 as the improper fraction 9/4. If you remember from a previous lesson, we get 9/4 by doing the whole number times the denominator plus the numerator. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and the denominator stays the same. Okay, step 2 is to change your division sign to a multiplication sign. So do that. And it says, and flip your second fraction. That's where we write the reciprocal. So we have 8/3. All right, so basically now we have a multiplication problem. So just like we learned in the previous sections, simplify diagonally. Right? So if we look here at 9 and 3, we can simplify 9 and 3 by dividing each of them by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now if we look diagonally here, 8 and 4, we can also simplify those by dividing both of them by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now we multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So we can simplify our final answer as the whole number of 6. All right, let's go on to another example here. It says find 5 1/5 divided by 1/2. So step 1 is to write it as an improper fraction. Whole number times denominator, 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So we have 26 over 5. Change your division sign into a multiplication sign, and invert your second fraction by flipping it upside down. Okay, if we look diagonally here, we cannot simplify anything because we have 26 and 1. Well, 1 is as simplified as it can get. And then we have 2 and 5, which do not have a common factor, so we cannot simplify those at all. So we multiply straight across. Okay, if you need to, you can do 26 times 2 to find that problem. You would get 12, carry the 1, 52. If you know that off the top of your head, that is okay as well. So we have 52 over 5 times 1 is 5. Now we need to simplify this by turning it back into a mixed number. So we can do the problem 52 divided by 5. So if that is a strategy that works well for you, you can solve it that way. Or you can think, how many times does 5 go into 52? Well, I know that it goes in there 10 times because 5 times 10 is 50. And I'm left with 2 out of 5. So 10 2/5 would be my final answer for that problem. All right, moving on to example 2 of dividing mixed numbers. This is where we have both numbers are mixed, so we're going to have to change both of them into improper fractions. So that's step 1, write each mixed number as an improper fraction. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 5 is 23, so we have 23 over 6. Change this into a multiplication sign. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So that would equal 5 over 3. But we have to flip this one upside down. So we can change it to 3/5. Simplify diagonally. 23 and 5 do not have any common factors, so we cannot simplify those. If we look at 6 and 3, we can simplify that. Divide them both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Multiply straight across. 23 times 1 is 23. 2 times 5 is 10. And our very last step is to write it as a mixed number so that we have it in lowest terms. 10 goes into 23 twice. So I have 2 wholes and 3 out of 10 left over. Final answer would be 2 3/10. Alrighty, another example. We have 7 3/4 divided by 2 2/3. First step is to change them both into improper fractions. So 7 times 4 is 28, plus 3 is 31, so 31 over 4. And then we have 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, so as an improper fraction, this would equal 8 over 3, but when we divide it, we're going to have to write the reciprocal. So times 3/8 equals. Okay, look diagonally to see if you can simplify. 31 and 8, those do not simplify, and 4 and 3 do not simplify. So we're going to have to multiply straight across. 31 times 3 is 93, and 4 times 8 is 32. To simplify this, we have to figure out how many times 32 goes into 93. If I round 32 to 30 and 93 to 90, I have 90 and 30 as compatible numbers. I know that 30 times 3 equals 90. So I'm going to try 32 times 3 to see how close that gets me. So 96. So I know that it does not go in there 3 whole times. That means I have 2 holes. And 32 times 2 would be 64. Now to find how many I have left over as my remainder, I would have to do 93 minus 64. So 13 minus 4 is 9. 8 minus 6 is 2. So we have 29 out of 32 left over. So our final answer would be 2 and 29 over 32. We know that we cannot simplify that because 29 and 32 do not have common factors. All right, let's move on to the next page, page 8 of your packet. Example 3 is using the order of operations. So if you remember from chapter 1, the order of operations is parentheses, exponents, multiplication or divide from left to right, add or subtract from left to right. So it says to evaluate 5 1/4 divided by 1 1/8 minus 2/3. Step 1 is to write each mixed number as an improper fraction. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21, so we have 21 over 4. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so we have 9 over 8. And 2/3 can stay how it is. We must divide first because of the order of operations. So we have 21 over 4 times 8 over 9. If we simplify diagonally, 21 and 9 can both be divided by 3. So I'm going to simplify 21 divided by 3 is 7, 9 divided by 3 is 3. 8 and 4 can also be simplified. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Multiply straight across, 7 times 2 is 14, 1 times 3 is 3. So I have 14/3. Now I still have to subtract the 2/3 from my original problem. So minus 2/3. I have a common denominator here, so I can go ahead and subtract my numerators right away. If you did not have a common denominator, you would have to find one by multiplying one of the fractions and finding the least common multiple. 14 minus 2 is 12 over 3. I know that 3 times 4 is 12, so when I simplify, my final answer is 4. All right, one more example here for the order of operations. We have 3/4 minus 3 1/2 divided by 8 1/6. Step 1 is to convert each mixed number into an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so we have 7 halves. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 1 is 49. All right, according to our order of operations, we must divide first. So we have 7 halves times 6 over 49, because we have to change our division sign to multiplication and invert our second fraction. When we look diagonally, we can simplify 7 and 49 by dividing by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 49 divided by 7 is 7. We can also simplify 2 and 6 by dividing by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now we can multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. So we have 3 7s. But remember, we originally started with 3/4 minus the rest of this problem that we just solved. So now we have to start with 3/4 and subtract our 3 7s out. Here's an example where you have to find a common denominator. So 4 and 7, we have different denominators here, so we need to make them the same number before we can subtract. I know that 4 and 7 both go into 28, so I'm going to use 28 as my common denominator. To make 4 into 7, I have to multiply it times, or to make 4 into 28, I have to multiply it times 7. So if I do 4 times 7, I also have to do 3 times 7, which is 21. Now over here, I did 7 times 4 to get 28, so I also have to do 3 times 4, which is 12. Now that I have a common denominator, I can subtract. 21 minus 12 is 9 over 28. I can use my divisibility rules to see if 9 over 28 can be simplified, and I can also see if they have a common factor. They do not, so my final answer is 9 over 28. All right, a real-life application. 1 serving of tortilla soup is 1 2/3 cups. A restaurant cook makes 50 cups of soups. Is there enough to serve 35 people? Explain. Alrighty, so our first step here is to divide 50 by 1 2/3 to find the number of available servings. So first we need to rewrite each number as an improper fraction. So to write 50 as an improper fraction, we would write that as 50 over 1. To write 1 2/3, we would have to multiply 1 times 3 plus 2. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So we get 5 over 3. All right. Now we are going to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 3/5. So I'll write this down here. So 50 over 1 times 3 over 5. We can simplify diagonally. So 50 divided by 5 is 10. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 times 3 is 30. 1 times 1 is 1. We can simplify 30 over 1 as 30. So our answer tells us how many servings of soup the cook has made. Well, our question asks, is there enough to serve 35 people? Our final answer for this would be no, because we only have 30 servings. Alrighty. As practice on your own, I would like you to give this example from the video problem a try, and these 4 on your own problems a try, and we will check them tomorrow in class.